Hello and welcome to the KPAX studio in Missoula, Montana, the site of my spring 2014 journalism residency. I'm Cameron Songer, and this is a look at some of the best stories I've done while I've been here. Our first story is uniquely Montana and asks if you know where the beef on your plate came from. A new business in Montana, called Montana Mobile Processing Company, aims to put more Montana beef on your plate. The local focus of founder Mark Estep uses a humane harvest method that travels to the ranches themselves rather than shipping animals to the slaughterhouse.
Aggregates the beef in one trip rather than many trips to a processor. It saves the trip that the cows don't make to the feedlots and all the environmental damage done there.
When the program receives USDA certification, it will be the first mobile processing unit in Montana. The fully equipped facility that harvests the animals at their home ranch yields higher quality beef because of the reduced stress on the animal.
These are winches, that would lift the body. They hook it on a rail here when it's split, and it just wheels right down here.
The truck you see here is just a prototype. It can handle 18 to 20 head of cattle at a time. The goal is to drive around the state and harvest 2,000 head per year. The prototype cost about $175,000 to equip. Estep estimates a new truck would cost about $200,000. Despite the cost, he is willing to fill a niche in the beef market.
Decline of processing in Montana and everywhere has led me to believe that there's possibilities for local processing that is not available right now.
If everything goes according to plan, it could be available as early as next spring. In Missoula, Cameron Songer, MTN News. Life at the largest K-8 school in Montana won't be the same next year. Candy Johnson has worn many different hats in 39 years at Hellgate, including PE teacher, music teacher, and for the last 20 years, principal. She says her job is fun, and on the eve of her retirement, looks back at how things have changed since she started.
When I first started as an educator, I never applied for a job as a teacher. I always just had somebody call me and say, "Hey Candy, would you come teach for us?" We didn't have hot lunch. Once a month the PTA came and did a hot lunch program for us, and that was a big deal.
Johnson oversaw many changes at Hellgate, including the anti-bullying program. She was known for looking out for her kids, and thousands of former students remember her as a friend.
Strongest strength that she had was her never-ending effort to provide for equality of educational opportunity for kids. It didn't matter to her if they were rich kids, economically challenged kids, black or white, male or female. It never mattered to her. What mattered to her was the kid, the child. Help those kids know that they had a home here, they had a place here, and that no matter where they came from, Candy was there for them, and she was there constantly.
She says she'll miss the kids of Hellgate Elementary the most when she retires, adding that the halls here hold so many memories.
You walk down the hall and you're like a rock star. They love being around the teachers. And one of my favorite stories is I walked into the cafeteria one day and there were these two little girls, and one of them said to the other one, "Oh, just look at our principal. Isn't she cute?" I mean, now you get to be my age, you're not cute anymore, but to these little guys, you are. So, and that's important.
In Missoula, Cameron Songer, MTN News. The dog days of summer are approaching in Missoula, which means time for road construction. At Quick Paws, a pet care business on 3rd Street, that may cause a negative impact on business.
I mean, if they need us, we're here and they will make the effort and they will get here. But if it's an option for them and they don't have to fight the traffic to get here, we will see those people less often. I think that it will make things quieter for us this summer.
The issue is the large project on 3rd Street between Russell and Schilling Street taking place this summer. As crews work to widen the road, traffic will be detoured away from the construction zone. Some business owners predict a bigger effect than others.
We have a very busy bar, and people, construction and things like that don't necessarily deter people from coming. A lot of people like to come and look and see what's happening. We have our clientele, and they're a steady family here.
Access to the businesses and residences remains open, but the concern is that people will avoid the area altogether.
People are mostly just frustrated. I think it's tough, especially with the congestion on Russell and then trying to get here from Reserve. 3rd's a busy street, and so not being able to use it is tricky.
Putting up with some delays now is the key. The project will add bike lanes and sidewalks, making 3rd Street more accessible for everyone in the future.
Those folks aren't walking on a dirt shoulder or walking or biking in the roadway itself. So it'll be much safer.
The construction is scheduled to last until September. In Missoula, Cameron Songer, MTN News. From something just getting started to one of Montana's established institutions, Special Olympics Montana. Technically, it was a regional competition that acted as a preliminary event for the state meet, but in reality, there was so much more to the events on the track and field at Big Sky High School. Wednesday marked the start of the Five Valley Special Olympics annual Spring Games. Athletes ages 8 and up competed despite unseasonably cold temperatures and gusty winds. This is the 37th annual edition of the Spring Games, something of a surprise to those who have been involved for a long time.
It's kids that I've been seeing here since they were 8 years old, and now they're part of my program at the high schools. I just pretend that I'm not getting older, but I'm just gaining more and more hug buddies. My family grows and grows each year.
The athletes are competing for a chance to advance to the state games in Billings next month. However, that's not the only reason to be at the games.
Just seeing all my friends, like I have this friend Nathaniel, he has ADD and stuff, and when I see him, he makes me happy.
Special Olympics kicked off today at Big Sky High School with track and field and soccer, which you can see behind me, and then tomorrow it continues with bowling and then wraps up Friday with powerlifting and swimming. The 3-day event will see more than 320 athletes from 25 teams in the area. At least 200 volunteers make the games possible. Those involved know the games offer something unique to everyone who participates.
You can't find anything quite as fulfilling. There's love, there's hugs, there's senses of accomplishment, pride. It's just, the theme this year is We Are Family. Boy, it describes it perfectly because we are such family, and I think that's the best.
In Missoula, Cameron Songer, MTN News. There's a pretty big community of runners in Missoula, especially when the weather gets nicer in the spring. Dozens of Montanans were among the thousands who ran in the first Boston Marathon since last year's deadly bombing. It was a quiet morning at the Runner's Edge in Missoula. In the store's basement, though, there was a party, a Boston Marathon watch party. People huddled over computers and tracked their friends' finish times or watched live coverage of the race. Run Wild Missoula hosted the event as a way to bring together the city's running community around the marathon.
Oh, it's exciting. I mean, it's motivating. When you're here, you actually can see more of it because you're watching the TV coverage. I've been in Boston for the marathon before and watched people run, and that's always an amazing feeling. But it was definitely motivating in here this morning. People are cheering and yelling for the local Missoulians. So it was inspiring just watching it on the big screen.
About 20 Missoula residents were in the field of 36,000. They had the support of an estimated 1 million spectators, despite tighter safety restrictions and memories of last year's bombings.
26.2 miles plus was filled with people. At some places, they were, 10, 15, 20 deep in some of the smaller towns. And the goodwill was just unbelievable.
The marathon ends on Boylston Street, the site of last year's attack. In the past, a runner's main emotion on the home stretch was looking forward to the finish. This year, it was so much more.
Given what happened last year, people on Boylston Street were standing 30 deep. It was just an overwhelming display of civic pride and just celebration and a kind of redemption.
In Missoula, Cameron Songer, MTN News. Not all of my stories were in Missoula. Our viewing area includes the small town of Victor, whose 8th graders got a hands-on lesson about impaired driving. Students took 2 laps around the course behind the wheel of an off-road vehicle. In the first lap, they were unimpaired. They then put on goggles that simulate a blood alcohol concentration of about 0.17, more than twice the legal limit. Then they took a field sobriety test with a police officer, also wearing the goggles. The Impaired Driving Education program was part of the 8th grade transitions program at Ravalli County Schools. The goal is to get students to think about driving under the influence well before they get behind the wheel for real.
The reason we wanted to think about it early on is because, first of all, they're doing drugs as early as the 5th grade. So it's important to talk about these kind of things. And as they get a little older and making those decisions, then they have more latitude for themselves. It's really important for them to learn this early on so that they can make a decision ahead of time what they are or they aren't going to do.
This program has been happening in Ravalli County for 7 years. The Impaired Driving program is just one of 5 parts of the 8th grade transitions program. Back in Missoula, the city addressed the problem of pet owners not picking up after their dogs in a memorable way. Mayor John Engen and second graders from Rattlesnake School held a news conference Thursday morning about dog laws, and the dogs were invited too. 2 students wrote letters to the mayor regarding the dog waste that was getting left around in city parks. The topics of the event included leash laws, dog safety, and of course, proper poo pickup techniques. It's all about encouraging pet owners to think about how their behavior affects other park users, including those with 4 legs.
As a dog owner who tries to follow the rules and the laws, it can be really difficult when you are approached by the dogs. Dogs do tend to be defensive when they're on a leash if others aren't. So my goal is that not only are we making it better for everyone else, but it's also going to be a little bit better for little Millie here.
I met plenty of interesting people in 11 weeks, but Avamundsen takes the cake. I was lucky enough to attend her 103rd birthday party. Ice cream and a performance by a Valley band marked the celebration of Avamundsen's 103rd birthday. Ava is the founder of Opportunity Resources Incorporated. Throughout her life, Ava has been involved with Opportunity Resources and volunteering her time to organizations in need of help. Opportunity Resources has grown to serve more than 400 adults with disabilities every day. She says the secrets to her longevity are her optimism and laughter.
When I was little, my folks always said, "Eva, quit your grinning. Can't help but grinning." So now I turned it into laugh lines.
Ava stays active, exercising 3 times per week. She says she only recently stopped driving. Speaking of staying active, some University of Montana students took a break from studying the week before finals by running around campus nearly naked. The 3rd annual Undie Run had students stripping down to their underwear and donating their clothes to local charities. The students then gathered at the starting line for the run to do a loop of a little more than a mile around the campus. The clothing drive was put on by the University Center Student Involvement Network. There were more participants last year, but they still managed to fill 4 or 5 garbage bags full of donated clothes this year. All participants got a t-shirt and the top finishers received prizes. Organizers say they hope the event will continue to grow in the future.
It sort of helps build the college communities, show that it's a safe place to be, that there are events that are fun, that are sort of out there in a way, but still fun to do. It just helps grow the campus and our organization. It's hard to get students involved sometimes and get them engaged, and this is one way they get to be involved and engaged in their campus community.
The collected clothes were donated to local charities. We'll wrap up with my favorite story from my time in Missoula. For their senior project, 2 students at Big Sky High School gave the front entrance a makeover. A senior project for 2 Big Sky High School students gave the school's entrance a makeover. The boys took pictures of many of their peers and had them made into 4-foot-tall posters to make a statement about the high school's community.
We wanted to recognize the large majority of students at this school that is not as recognized as we feel they should be.
The inspiration for this display was the Inside Out project, a series of photo installations by a French artist named JR. His work is often focused on social issues around the world, but when the Big Sky duo reached out to the Inside Out project and JR, the boys received hundreds of dollars of support in the form of free printing. As for hanging up the posters, they were on their own. The boys say they had to make about 15 gallons of glue to hang up the 50-plus posters on the walls of the school. They say the whole process from making the glue to putting up the posters took about 6 hours on Monday night. All that effort was validated when they got to school Tuesday morning and saw their teachers and other students admiring the installation.
People think it's amazing. Many of the kids up here were just overwhelmed at how good of a feeling I guess it was to just be able to walk up to the school and say, I am the face of the school, just literally be up there. I don't know, people thought it was a really neat project. They really like how it looks.
Visual appeal aside, the boys take pride in the fact that their photos include students from all grades and many social groups.
Mixing them together sort of showed or demonstrated like the equality of our student body, I think, which is what we wanted to demonstrate more than anything.
In Missoula, Cameron Songer, MTN News.